Hi, I'm one of Suzanne Cassin's sons. It's my job today to tell you the sad news that she passed away last October 15th. But that's not really what this video is about. Shortly after the Depression in 1937, Suzanne was born just outside of Detroit, Michigan. Suzanne's mother, Marjorie, was a traditional housewife and homemaker. She took care of almost everything to do with the family and the home. Her father was an engineer from Tufts. He moved the family to Rockford, Illinois shortly after Sue was born so that he could work for Barnes Drill, where he specialized in making machines that made other machines. Part of his duties there was head security officer for the plant. Due to its manufacturing capabilities, Rockford was on the 10 most likely to be bombed cities during World War II. This often stressed out her father. During the war, when tensions were high, Kenneth would send the family to Kewanee, Wisconsin, where they stayed in a cabin at a friend of theirs on Lake Michigan. This is also a place they went during the summers for vacations a lot. When there during the school year, Susie would study in the local one-room schoolhouse. When Sue was about 10 years old, the family moved to the small town of Winnebago, Illinois, just outside of Rockford. The family lived in a house built in the 1880s. It was one block from downtown and across the street from the school that Susie would attend. Having very welcoming parents and being across from the school, her house was soon a hub of activity for the local kids. Being a hub of activity, there were accidents. One of her bad boy friends one day decided to take advantage of some paint sitting around in the rec room and paint his name on the wall. Susie's parents' decision on how to handle this transgression says a lot about them. Her father decided that he would supply more paint and more brushes and simply let everyone that came over write their name on the wall also. Those of you that have worked with Sue know that she's very bright. And during the first 3.5 years of high school, she was a straight A student. However, she became aware that if she continued getting straight A's for the last semester, she was going to have to give the valedictorian speech at graduation. And you know what? Suddenly, a couple of her classes, just her scores went straight down just far enough that someone else was forced to give that speech. In 1955, Sue started attending the University of Chicago, and I haven't really heard that much about the university itself. I do know that she spent a lot of time at jazz clubs and hanging out with luminaries such as Elaine May and Mike Nichols as they were working on their improvisational comedy and when they started the Second City Club. She also spent some time in the woods with Bernie Sanders. No, it wasn't a tryst. The university was highly opposed to having a student government, and Bernie really wanted one, so they started that organization underground. Sue met her first husband and my father, Gary Stallings, while at the university. In 1958, they got married and started moving around the country. Iowa City, Utah, Phoenix, and northern Michigan. She had her second son, Chester Stallings. And in 1965, they ended up back in South Chicago. In Chicago, Sue was very active in the social justice movement. The family went to lots of anti-war demonstrations and civil rights demonstrations. Sue helped some of the local gang girls learn literature and read some of Malcolm X and other literature of that time. Around 1968, Sue and her first husband were divorced. At the time, Sue was babysitting for Stoughton and Alice Lind, and they introduced her to her second husband, Mike Barnes, who Stoughton was training to do social justice work. Sue and Mike were married, and Sue's third son, David Barnes, came out of that relationship. For the next 10 years, Sue and the rest of the family followed Mike's work around the country. Gary, Indiana, Indianapolis, Amherst, Massachusetts, San Francisco, and eventually to Portland, Oregon. The move to Portland was planned a couple of years in advance. This gave her first husband, my father, an opportunity to move there, get settled, and buy a duplex. When Sue and the rest of the family moved there, I lived downstairs in the duplex with my father, her first husband, and Mike Barnes and her and the other children lived upstairs in the duplex. So I think Portland was good for Sue. Her husbands were running an alternative newspaper out of the basement. There were lots of ideas floating around. She had a diverse community she could be with and talk to, discuss ideas with. The one issue she was having is that David, her son, was just not doing well in school. The schools tried a number of interventions, but he was just not flourishing. So Sue had this friend named Johnson, who had a brother named Kent up in Seattle. Kent had this school up there that was supposed to be excellent for learning disabled children. So in 1983, Sue moved David up to Seattle, and started working at the school. So in 1983, this school was a bit of an oddball. It was not run by an educator, but a psychologist. He didn't hire teachers so much as he hired just smart people, no certificates at all, didn't care. And they used this special fangled chart thing. Well, how's this going to go? Not very well, of course. So I have two words for you, Dr. Johnson, whole language. Enough said. In all seriousness, I think her years teaching at Morningside and involved with the precision teaching and direct instruction communities were the best of her life. She truly flourished. She was able to focus with both direction and purpose, allowing her to contribute to that community. Others at the conference can probably be more explicit about what she contributed. In all, it's my understanding that others may have pushed the vision and the theory forward, but her contribution was to the state of the practice, that her years of experience in the classroom allowed her to help define details and clarify rules for day-to-day use of charting. After 10 years at Morningside, Sue returned home to Winnebago to take care of her aging mother. While there, she tutored students and stayed active on the listservs. Sue and her mother spent a lot of time on the back porch watching birds and looking out at the immense garden she had created out of the backyard. It was so big that eventually she had to start a farmer's market in Winnebago, which continues to this day. After Sue's mother died, she was free to travel again. She continued working with Morningside, traveling to Native American reservations, training teachers in use of the chart and direct instruction. My main goal today was to thank this community. You have contributed immensely to my mother's life. I know that she loved all of you dearly. And I and my brothers certainly appreciate everything you've done for her while she worked in the community and afterwards. We thank you so much. If you have any questions, want to get in touch with the family, or need a data scientist with 30 years of experience that's familiar with the acceleration chart, feel free to get in touch. It's cassinsstallings@gmail.com. Thank you very much.